Good evening, my YouTube viewers. In this video, what we're going to talk about is the measure of central tendency, which is a part of descriptive statistics, and we discussed the measure of central tendency in an earlier video. But what we're going to do in this video is we're going to expand upon the initial description. And so basically, your measure of central tendency has the metrics mean, median, and mode. Now, your mean is the average of a list of variables. The median is the center of a list of variables. And the mode is like the number of times a particular value appears in a list of values. So the mode in this particular instance is 48. So that means 48 is the highest appearing value in the list of values in this particular spreadsheet that I'm on. But if you do count mode, it says count if A2 to A101 equals E5. So you're going to count it if it's 48. So there are 3 instances of 48 in this particular list of values. And so your mean in Excel is going to be the average of A2 to A101. Your median is going to be the center. And what the center is you sort the values. And then when you sort the values, you pick the value that's in the middle of those sorted values. And then so basically, if the median, if it's an odd number list of values, then you're going to take the center value. But if it is an even number list of values, then what you do is you take the two center numbers and then you add them together and divide them by 2, and that's your median. So your mode is the value that occurs the most frequently in a list of values, and the count mode is the number of times that value occurs, and the number of elements in an array. In this particular instance, it's 100 because we've got values from A2 to A101. So you've got the formula for your mean, which is you add up all the values and then you divide them by the count, and then the count of values, which is 100, and that's going to give you your mean. And your median, which I've already discussed, if they give you a formula that you're supposed to use if the number is odd, and then a formula that you're supposed to use if the number is even. And then and then they also give you a formula for the mode. But fortunately for you, you do not have to calculate all of these things, because in Excel, average calculates your mean, median calculates your median, and mode calculates your mode. We also have something called a mean absolute deviation, or MAD, which is the statistical measure that quantifies the average distance between each data point in a data set and the mean of the data set. So how you get the mean absolute deviation is you take the absolute value of A2 minus E2, which is your mean, and then you calculate that all the way down to 100. And then you take and then that goes in column B, and then you calculate the average of column B, which is your mean absolute deviation. So we also have, in this particular array of numbers, which is 100, I created a histogram. And so in the last video, what we did was we did a visualization, and I showed you how to create a histogram in the visualization. But in this video, what you're going to do is you're going to create the histogram, and you're going to change the number of columns. And then when you change the number of columns, then that's going to give you a specific distribution. So this is the histogram that we have created. And we also created a whisker and box and whisker plot. And then so 0 is your lowest number and 100 is your highest number in this particular set of numbers. And then so Q1 is going to be 25, Q2 is going to be your median, I believe, and Q3 is going to be 80. And then so you got your box, which is between, well, really between 30 and 80. So that is 50, a value of 50. And then you got your whiskers, which is between 0 and 100. So that's your box and your whisker plot. We've also created a Pareto chart, and I showed you how to create a Pareto chart in the last instance. So what the Pareto chart does is it gives you a value of count. So the number of values that occur the most frequently are going to be in the far left, and the number of values that occur the least frequently are going to be in the far right. But what we'll do, just so you're able to do this, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I made this histogram. Because a histogram is something that you're really going to need to learn how to create. And the reason for that is because in machine learning, I use histograms in machine learning all the time because you want to check the distribution of the target. So we have sectioned off the 100 values, and then you come over here to insert, and you can either go to recommended charts or you can come over here to histogram. So we're going to come over here to histogram, and then you can see with this histogram it looks close to a normal distribution. So it's not exactly a normal distribution, but it looks close to a normal distribution. And so what we want to do is we want to say format data series, and then we come over here and come over here to horizontal axis, come over here to action options, axis options, we say number of bins. So I'm just going to say 25 bins. I'll say 25 bins. And then so when you check 25 bins, you see that you have a very erratic distribution. But if we want to say 10 bins, okay, so there's your 10 bins. And if you want to say 5 bins, okay, so, and then we're going to come back, we'll have 4 bins. So what we'll do, we'll just give it a try, and we'll say 50 bins. Okay, and so when you say 50 bins, you can see that's a very erratic distribution. And so the number of bins that you have can indicate what exactly your distribution is. So now you can see that it's not the normal distribution that we thought it was to begin with. You can see it's very erratic. But what we'll do is we'll say 33 bins. So it's a very erratic distribution. It's not similar to the normal distribution that we thought. And then so now what we're going to do is we're going to delete this chart title, but we're going to come over here to insert, and we're going to do a Pareto chart. Okay. So we've got the Pareto chart, which looks good. So we say format axis, and then we say number of bins. It says 5 bins. So we'll say 10 bins. So you can see we changed the number of bins. So the thing is in this particular instance, the Pareto chart actually looks better than the histogram. But the Pareto chart tells you which values have the highest count and which values have the lowest count. So that's the great thing about the Pareto chart. So I think I've covered the measure of central tendency. We've covered the mean, median, and mode. We also covered mean absolute deviation as an extra. We've done count mode as an extra, and we've done number of elements in the array, which is a count. So that concludes this video. The next video we're going to be talking about is the measure of dispersion. So I hope that you decide to watch it.